Ancient tradition says that a cosmic mix-up defined the birth of one of India's most complex figures. Sage Brigu prepared 2 bowls of mantra-infused rice, one for a peaceful priest, the other for a fierce king. But the bowls were swapped. Kaushika, born into a lineage of warriors, carried the latent destiny of a spiritual master from his first breath. That child grew to become Emperor Kaushika, ruler of Kanaush. He commanded a staggering military force of 200,000 warriors, cavalry, and elephants. Kaushika viewed power as something measured by the reach of his sword. To him, authority was rooted in the visible submission of others. He possessed every terrestrial luxury, yet because he was focused on conquering the outside world, he remained unaware of the one within. This worldview was challenged at the forest ashram of sage Vashistha. While visiting, the king was stunned to see his massive army effortlessly fed by Sabala, a divine, wish-fulfilling cow. Kaushika offered thousands of gold-adorned elephants and millions of cows to buy the animal. Vashistha refused, explaining that Sabala was the foundation of his spiritual life, providing the offerings required for his daily rituals and Vedic studies. Kaushika reacted with force. He ordered a military strike, but Vashistha simply raised a wooden staff. That single stick absorbed every celestial weapon and neutralized the entire army. The realization was devastating. Physical force is finite. Shamed by the limits of his own crown, Kaushika walked into the wilderness to seek the lasting power of spiritual mastery. Kaushika began a grueling tapasya, a period of intense penance, spending years in meditation in the frozen Himalayas to accumulate spiritual energy. His growing power alarmed the gods. To disrupt his concentration, Indra sent the celestial nymph Menaka to earth. The distraction worked. Kaushika succumbed to his desires, broke his focus to stay with Menaka, and fathered a daughter. When he eventually realized he had been manipulated, he reacted with fury. He cursed Menaka, and in that burst of anger, he exhausted the spiritual merit he had spent years building. He was left with a difficult reality. The forces of the universe remained beyond his reach, because he had not yet mastered his own impulses. He began again, only to be interrupted by King Trisanku, a man demanding to be sent to heaven in his physical body. Vashistha had already refused the request. Kaushika agreed to help, largely driven by his lingering rivalry with the sage. When the gods blocked Trisanku from heaven, Kaushika doubled down. He used his spiritual reserves to engineer an alternate universe for the king. The cosmos intervened. Trisanku was left permanently suspended upside down, becoming the constellation Crux. By attempting to play God to settle a personal score, Kaushika found his spiritual reservoir empty. Ego, even when hidden behind an act of charity, remained his primary obstacle. He launched into one final effort, a 1,000-year fast that pushed his body to the edge of death, stripping away his remaining worldly attachments. At the very moment he was to eat his first meal in centuries, Indra appeared disguised as a starving beggar. This time there was no anger or pride. Kaushika calmly handed over his only meal. In that moment of sacrifice, the internal struggle ended. The arrogant warrior king had been replaced by someone whose mind was finally still. The gods recognized his transformation. Brahma named him a Brahmarishi and gave him the title Vishwamitra, the friend of all. Vishwamitra approached Vashistha with humility, and the 2 former rivals finally embraced as equals. He eventually became a mentor in Ayodhya, where he trained Prince Rama in the celestial arts and divine weaponry. His most enduring contribution is found in the Rig Veda, the composition of the Gayatri Mantra, a verse designed to guide the mind toward enlightenment. Vishwamitra's transition from a conqueror of lands to a master of the mind left a legacy that outlasted his kingdom, living on in the Sanskrit verses still recited today.